Hello friends and welcome to YouTube channel Freedom Tech, and in this session what we are going to learn. Friends, in computer vision, object detection and object tracking is most important task. So in this tutorial I will share with you most easiest method for object detection and for object tracking with the help of YOLOv10. We are going to track here multiple vehicle classes. We are going to track here a car and truck class. So before we move to our practical, friends, if you learn something from our videos, please consider to subscribe our channel. Okay friends, thank you so much, and let's get started. So friends, as I mentioned, in computer vision, object detecting and object tracking is most important task. So as I mentioned, today I will share with you most easiest method for object detection and for object tracking with the help of YOLOv10. So let's get started. So for that, first we will start with basic package installation process. So simply open your Thony Python IDE and then go to the tools, manage packages, and here we will search our packages. So OpenCV-Python is the first package. OpenCV-Python. Click on search on PyPy, first package, and as you can see I have already installed the package. You need to simply click on install button, done. It will install OpenCV. Then of course we will search for Ultralytics, and if you hit enter the first package Ultralytics, click on install button, done. It will install Ultralytics. And then we will search for CVZone package, CVZone. Hit enter, first package, click on install button, done. It will install CVZone. Most easiest way, you need to simply go here, tools, manage packages, and search the packages. So first package is OpenCV-Python. Hit enter. Then we have another package which is Ultralytics. So Ultralytics, hit enter, and then next package which is CVZone, done. So this is how first install all the basic packages: OpenCV-Python, Ultralytics, and CVZone. So we have done with package installation process. Now for today's session I have created a new repository, easy way to track and detect the object. So I will mention the link. Simply copy paste the link inside web browser and click on download. Just click on code button and just download our zip format repository, done. So if I open file manager, downloads, this is what our repository, easy way to track detect object. Right click and then WinRAR and just extract the folder, and this is what our folder. Again go inside the folder, then we have our files. So in today's session we will use a default trend model which is YOLOv10s.pt, which is a by default trend model. So coco.txt, this is what our video file downloaded link, and this is our main code. So first let's just download our video file vid.txt, copy the link, close the text file, open your browser, new tab, press Ctrl+V, hit enter. It will open our cloud link, and this is what our video file. Just click on download and it will download our video file. So friends, we successfully download our video file. Let's just close the cloud link, minimize the browser, and if you go here downloads, this is what our video file, raw.mp4. Right click, cut, and then this is what our repository, easy way to track and count or detect object basically, and then just paste the video file. So if I open video file, so as I mentioned friends, today we are going to detect a vehicle classes with the help of pre-trained object detection model YOLOv10. So we have here two class, which is the truck class and the car class. So we are going to detect both class. Then we have our tracker, and with the help of tracker we are going to track each object, and then we are going to create a counter. Most easy way, simple. So this is what our video file. Now let's just open our main code, YOLOtrack1.py. Just open it. So here I have import our basic modules which we install: CV2, OpenCV, NumPy as MP, Ultralytics, import YOLO, and import CVZone. This is the basic packages, and this is the function. This is the function for drawing line or drawing polylines on our frame, because simple. and then we are going to read our coco.txt file. So if you open repository coco.txt, as you can see, this is all the classes, by default classes, and then we have our video file, cap is equal to cv2.video capture video file, then while loop, and then the method we are going to use here, model.track. So our model is basically YOLOv10 which is pre-trained object detection model, YOLOv10 So model is the variable which we call over here, model.track, and then frame and the method true, simple. And then we are going to call from this result, this is the result, so we are going to use this result and we are going to call the boxes, then class ID, then track ID, and then confidence level. So boxes is equal to this results, here it is, as you can see, boxes is equal to this results, then boxes xy dot int dot cpu dot toList. This is the basic method, this is the basic method. So if we want to call detected object rectangles, so this is how we can mention the method, we can mention the method, and then we will get our x, y, wh coordinate, or we will get x1, y1, x2 and y2 coordinate. So boxes is equal to this results and the method boxes dot xy dot int cpu toList. Then we need a class ID, means if you open the coco.txt file, so we have here person class, we have here bicycle class, we have here car class. So class ID is basically number of each class. So this person class number is basically 0, and then bicycle class number is 1, then car class 2, then simply go on. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, this is basically the ID. So ID for this list, we will get the ID from this method, class IDs again from these results, and then boxes.cls int cpu.toList. As simple as, there is no need to change in this method, simple. So then we have a track IDs. So as I mentioned, because we are going to track our objects, so here we are going to use a most powerful tracker, which is YOLO by default tracker, which is most powerful tracker. So track IDs is equal to again results and then boxes ID and then int. ID is basically for track ID. Here it is, as you can see, this CLS basically for class, and this, and then xy is basically for rectangle coordinates. So xy is basically for boxes, then this CLS is basically assigned for classes ID, and then this ID is basically assigned for track IDs, and then we need a confidence level, so conf. Then we will use a for loop. So for is basically now box, class ID, track ID, conf in zip. In zip we will mention all these variables, boxes, class IDs, track IDs and confidences. The boxes, here it is, as you can see, these boxes for this box, or we can say this box assigned for the boxes, this class ID variable assigned for class IDs, track ID assigned for track IDs, and conf is basically assigned for confidences. So this is how we can simply call all our variables with the help of for loop. Done. Then C is equal to class name. So we have here our coco.txt file. As you can see, this one coco.txt, inside a repository we have coco.txt file. So we will read all the classes names with the help of ID using like this way. Here it is, as you can see, C is just a variable C, and then we will call our class names, these class names, and inside that we will pass our class ID. So as I mentioned, class ID is basically what? Class ID is basically number, means person 0 ID, then car 1 ID, then next go on. This is how we will call the class ID, and then of course we have here class ID, so we will pass this class ID inside our class names. So it means when we detect a car, it will automatic check what is the number which we have inside class ID, and it will mention that number class name on rectangle top left corner. Means if we detect the car, so for car, let's just say we have for car for 2 is the ID, so it will here inside class ID we have 2, so 2 is basically assigned for car or any class, let's just say. So if we get here 2 inside class ID, so class ID will of course check the class names from our coco.txt file, and it will mention that class names on detected object rectangle top left corner. Simple. And then with the help of box, now this box is basically our x1, y1, x2 and y2. Inside this box we have rectangle 4 coordinates. So when we detect the objects, of course we will draw the rectangle coordinates. So x1, y1, x2 and y2, this box. And then here we will mention the center point of each detected class or each detected vehicle. So Cx is equal to int x1 plus x2 divided by 2, Cy is equal to y1 plus y2 divided by 2. This is how we will get our center point for each object. And then with the help of CVZone put text rect method, we will put this C. As I mentioned, this C is basically our class names. So this C we will mention on rectangle top left corner. So this is basic method. This is now our object detection. So if I start the code, first it will download our pre-trained object detection model. As you can see, YOLOv10 as.pt, it's now downloading. And then I think the video file, of course we want to mention the video file name. So video file name is road.mp4. So here I need to mention road.mp4 and save the code and run the code. So if you follow this video completely, then you can detect any object, and any object you can track with the help of this video. Simple. So as you can see friends, now we are detecting our object. There is a class but there is no rectangle, so let's just draw our rectangle on our detected object. So we have our coordinates, simply cv2.rectangle method, cv2.rectangle, and then where we want to draw a rectangle, we want to draw a rectangle on frame, and then we will mention the coordinates. So coordinates x1, y1 is basically top left corner of rectangle, so x1 and y1, and then this is what, bottom right corner, so x2 and y2, and then we will mention color for our rectangle. So let's just go as a green color, 00255 R BGR, simple, BGR. And then we will mention over here thickness, so let's just say 2. So cv2.rectangle frame, and then this is what our rectangle coordinates, x1, y1, x2 and y2, and then BGR. So here let's just mention green color, so G is basically here, so 255, 02550 green color, and the 2 is basically thickness. So if I save the code and if I run the code, frame is not defined. Let me check here. Oh, there is a typo mistake, that's why the error. Save the code and run the code. And now as you can see friends, there is a green color rectangle on each object which we are detecting. There is a truck, there is a car, and we have class also on the rectangle top left corner. So let me make like this way, this rectangle method we will mention first over here, and then we will mention our CVZone put text rect method for classes. Okay, and now for detail, I will just go with a static frame, means I have mentioned here a 0. So this is basically our first frame. There is no while loop now, as you can see. So if I want to start the loop, so I need to press simply space button from keyboard. So it will basically go one by one. It will basically move the frame one by one. So like as you can see, simple. So as I mentioned friends, we are drawing a rectangle on each detected object. So here we have our car object and we have here our truck object. And then with the help of CVZone.putTextRect method, we are basically putting our text, our class name on rectangle top left corner. So rectangle top left corner is x1 and y1. So in frame, as you can see, this is what our rectangle top left corner, and here we are showing our class name, truck, car, car, truck. Simple. So we successfully detecting our object. So we have done with object detection method. This is really easy method. Done. Now we want to track our object. So for that here we have our track ID. This is what our track ID for each object. So here if I mention like this way, CVZone, or let's just say, because now we know what we have on our rectangle top left corner, means what is the class. So now there is no need to mention the class name. Instead of the class name, we will mention the ID, track ID. So let's just say track ID. It will assign unique ID, or we can say unique number for each detected truck and car class. So if I save the code, if I run the code, and as you can see friends, for this truck we have 1 is the ID, for this car we have 3 is the ID, for this car we have 4, for this truck we have 5. So let's just start our while loop. If I start the code, it will start our while loop, and as you can see friends, just watch. For this truck we are tracking the ID is same 5, for this car we have 4 ID, for this car we have 6, for this car we have 10, for this car we have 18. So from here as you can see, this truck still there is a 8 ID. So as I mentioned, this is basically most advanced tracker. We are using here YOLO by default tracker. This is most advanced tracker, and it is really easy to use. You need to simply call the basic method. Here it is. We are using a track ID from this track IDs method, result, boxes and ID, as I already explained you. Simple. So then we use over here a for loop, and then simply we will get our ID with the help of track ID, and this track ID is basically tracks IDs, track IDs. So what is track IDs? Track IDs is this is the method. Simple. So now we are detecting the object, also we are tracking our object. And now if I start the code, so friends, now here what we are going to do, we are going to use here a polyline method. We are going to use here a polyline method, and we will draw here on this road, on this side road, we will draw a polyline. So let's just first draw our polyline. So as I mentioned, for drawing polyline, we have here our mouse event function, event mouse move. So if I move the cursor, mouse cursor on the frame inside shell, as you can see, we have coordinates. So let's just say for this side, I just want to draw a polyline here. So I will go here, and inside shell, as you can see, we have coordinate, which is 135 and 294, 135 and 294. So let's just mention here a variable here, area is equal to, in square bracket and then simple bracket. Let's just open again frame and just go over here where you want to start the polyline. So this is, let's just say, my start point 134, 294. So let's just mention here 134 and 294. 134 and 294. Done. And then we will go, let's just say over here, or this is what my first point, then here, and here 118301. 118 and 301, and then we have our 2 points. Now just go over here. This is what my next point, or let's just say here 528347. 528347. 528 and 347. 528347, and they just say here 527339. 527339. So let's just draw these points, and if we want to mention some changes, so we will make some changes when we draw a polyline. Let's just draw first these points as a polyline, simple. So here I will mention the polyline method. CV2.polylines, and we want to draw our polyline on the frame, and then in square bracket np.array, and the bracket, here we will mention our area points, this one. So let's just say area, and then np.int32, area and np.int32, and then we will mention true, and then the color, so 00255, blue, green and red. So I have mentioned the red, and then the thickness for polylines. If I save the code, if I run the code, CV is not defined. Let me check here. CV, oh, CV2, not CV. Let's just start the code. And then friends, as you can see, as I mentioned, this is what our polylines, but as I mentioned, we want to make here some changes because this polyline is really small. So let's just say this point, I will go over here for this is, let's just say this is what my first point. So if I go here 103,306, 103,306, 103 and 306, 103 and 306, and let's just say over here, if I go here 497,370, 497 and 497 and 375, or let's just say 370. If I save the code, if I run the code, now it's really good. Now it's really good. So friends, we successfully draw our polylines with the help of mouse event function, with the help of event mouse move function, this one, event mouse move function, simple. So now let me explain over here. So this is what my first point, 134, 294, and this first point is this one, and this is what our second point, this one, second point. This is what our third point, this one, and this is what our end point, this one. So this is how, with the help of CV2.polylines, we can simply draw our area, on the frame. So this is what my polyline area, or we can say this is what my region of interest area. If we track any vehicle in this area, then only I will do the tracking method, I will start the object detection method. Otherwise I don't want to detect and I don't want to track. That's it. So here let's just say this is what my region of interest area. So here what is our condition? So what is condition? When this rectangle, this corner, this one, bottom left corner, so let's just highlight our bottom left corner. So we have here bottom left corner is basically x1 and y2. x1 and y2 is rectangle bottom left corner. So for highlighting we will use cv2 dot circle method. Simple, cv2 dot circle. And then where we want to draw our circle? We want to draw our circle on frame. As simple as basic method, frame. Done. And then we will mention our coordinates. So as I mentioned, the bottom left corner of the rectangle is basically x1 and y2. So x1 and y2, and then the radius of the circle, let's just say 4, and the color we will make a blue color. So BGR, so B means I just want to mention the circle color blue. So blue is on, so 255, and then other will off, so 0 and 0, simple, in simple language. So 255 0 0. So it will now draw a blue color circle, and then because we want to fill the circle, so -1. Done. Now save the code and run the code. And as you can see friends, but what we will do over here, we will first draw the rectangle, then we will draw our circle. Okay, so save the code and run the code. So as you can see, now here on the rectangle bottom left corner you will see there is a center point, not center point, basically there is a circle. Center point is basically this one, but we draw over here a rectangle bottom left corner, and we highlighting that corner with the help of cv2 dot circle method. Here it is, as you can see there is a blue color circle. So now it is clear. What is my condition? When this rectangle bottom left point, if it is inside this area, then I will detect my object, then I will track my object. Otherwise I don't want to detect, I don't want to track anything. Simple. So for that we have our cv2 dot point polygon test method. So result, create a new variable result is equal to cv2 dot point p capital polygon t capital test, point polygon test. Inside that we want to mention our area. Let's just mention our area, then I will explain how the cv2 point polygon test method basically work. So let's just mention our area. So this is what my area, as you can see this is basically our area. So copy this np.array np.int32 as it is, just copy as it is, start from here, copy it, copy as it is, and mention here cv2 dot point polygon test method, just paste. And then as I mentioned, inside our region of interest area, our highlighted area, what is our highlighted area? Our highlighted area is x1 and y2. We highlighted a rectangle bottom left corner. So rectangle bottom left corner x1 and y2, that's why we draw a circle. So x1 and y2 mentioned over here, x1 and y2, and then false. And if I print the result, if I save the code, if I run the code, so now what's inside shell? Here it is, as you can see we are printing this result, So we have now inside shell -1 -1 -1, because if you just go here it is, as you can see -1 -1 -1 -1. So now what I will do, I will just skip the frame one by one. So right now we have only -1 -1. Okay, so watch. When this rectangle, this point which we highlighted, if it is inside our area, Now it's inside our area. And then if you just scrolled up, here it is, as you can see, we have 1. We have -1 and we have 1. So 1 is basically for when this rectangle bottom left corner, if it is inside our area, then we have 1. Otherwise we have -1, -1, -1. So now it is really easy. We can simply create a condition. If our result, if it is greater than or is equal to 0, then we want to detect object and then we want to track the object. Done. We are tracking our object with our condition. I just want to track my object. If my object, if it is selected region of interest area. Done. Now let's just mention our condition. As I already explained, if the result -1 for we highlighted the area, means we highlighted a rectangle bottom left corner with the help of circle. So this circle, when it is outside of region of interest area, we have -1, and when it is inside of the area, we have 1. So if result, if it is greater than is equal to 0, then we will mention our condition, cv2.rectangle, cv2.circle, and cv zone put text rect method. Done. Save the code and run the code. And as you can see, friends, when we have our condition match, means when we have our rectangle, this bottom left corner, if it is inside our area, then only we can see the detected rectangle box and their ID. So right now for this man truck, we detected inside our area because we match our condition, then there is a rectangle and there is a ID. So when this man truck cross our region of interest area, as you can see, now there is nothing. There is nothing. Same for this car, as you can see. Watch for this DAP truck. Watch for this car. It is inside our area, both object. Then we have a rectangle on the object, and then we have ID on their not bottom, a top left corner. Simple. So friends, we're done with object detecting, we're done with tracking. As I mentioned, this is really easy method. This is really easy method. First we call the basic method for boxes, for class ID, for track ID, and for confidences. Then we use the for loop, and then of course with the help of cv2.pointPolygon_test, we basically mention our area, and then with the help of point polygon test we mention our condition. If our rectangle bottom left corner, if it is inside our polyline area, then we have 1. So if result, if it is greater than or is equal to 0, then we are going to draw the rectangle, we are going to draw the circle, also we are going to put our tracking ID on their top left corner. Done. Now we are detecting object, we are tracking object. Now we want to create a counter. So for that let's just start our code again. For that, here simple now. So when we are detecting the object, we have basically the ID. We have basically the ID. So simple here. Let's just say counter dot append, or let's just say, because counting dot append, and inside that we will mention our track ID, this one, track ID, counting dot append track ID, and then here we will create a counting over here. Let me make like this way, counting, or let's just, we want to mention not over here, we want to mention over here, counting is equal to list, counting is equal to empty list. Simple. So now When we match our condition, then we are basically appending each object ID inside our counting list. So now we can simply say here, because we create here our list, so we can simply call the list over here. Print, and we will mention counting. If I save the code, if I run the code, now the list which we created, inside that list we are basically saving each object detected ID. So right now for this man truck, if I press the space button, here it is, as you can see, inside list we have 1. So 1 is basically for this truck ID, the man truck ID. So let's just skip our frame one by one. Watch for the car and the DAF truck. So now as you can see, this car is detected, and we have here this car, we have a 4 ID, but as you can see, this car is basically counting continuously when the car is basically inside our area. So this is error. It is counting the same ID again and again. So here it is, as you can see, the 4, 4, 4. It's counting this car at a 4 time. It's counting same ID again and again. So for that, simply here we mention our condition. Here we are basically appending the ID inside our counting lists. So if counting list counting dot count, if counting dot count, what we are counting? We are counting the ID. So in simple bracket mention ID, not ID, basically track ID. Track ID is our variable, track ID. We are counting track ID is equal to 0. Means please don't count same ID again and again, and then mention the counting dot append track ID. Now if I start code again, now let's just watch for the car, this car. When the car, if it is inside our area, we have 4, but here it is now, as you can see, the 4 ID is only counting at once, because we create the condition don't count same ID again and again inside our area. So watch for DAP truck. 5, this car is first detected, so this car we have 6th ID, and then we have 5th number ID for DAF truck. Done. We are tracking object, we are assigning the ID for each object, each class, and then we are basically counting. So now this list is basically we mention as a length. So here if I mention print and the length of our counting, it will basically mention the counter, means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and go on. So now here it is, as you can see, 1. So we basically count here 1 vehicle, which is the truck vehicle, and then we have again our car. So 2, as you can see, we counted 2 vehicle, and then we are counting 3 and 4. So we counting here a 4 vehicle. So we successfully detect our object, we successfully track the object. Now we create a counter also. As I mentioned, this is most easiest method for detecting the object, for create a counter, also for tracking the object. So now we are counting the object, but we don't know how many trucks basically we count here, because we are counting both objects at the same time. We are counting here a total class, means we are counting total objects, means we are counting the car also, we are counting the truck also, but we are not counting or we can say we are not creating a separate counter for truck class or for car class. So for that, what we will do, we will simply mention here we have here class. So this is the class, C is basically class. So let's just say first here, if we detected car, So condition, if car in our C is basically our class's name. So if car in C, then start our condition, mention after that all these things like this way. So we mention our condition. I just want to start counter only for car class. So this is the C is basically our class names. So if the car in this C, after that mention cv2.point polygon test method, after that mention all the condition. Now if I start the code, now this car is already crossed our area, so that's why still the counter is 0. Now we detected first car and counter is 1. As I mentioned, it will only count, it will only detect a car class. Watch for DAF truck, it's not detecting. It's not detecting, as you can see, because we mentioned the condition. So we count here 2 car. This one is basically third one, as you can see 3. So this is how, friends, you can count a separate class. So now if I mention here a truck class, if I save the code, if I run the code, now as you can see the man truck is detected. We count 1, so we count 1 truck. Now it will not detect a car, it will not detect the car, as you can see, because we mentioned I just want to count here only truck class. So DAP truck will be count, but the car will not count, as you can see, and the counter is basically increased. Here it is, as you can see, we counting now. This one is basically second truck. So we are successfully counting each class. Now let's just mention our class. So first I will go with car, and then what I will do, I will copy this method as it is. Just copy it and go here, and here I will mention our next class. Let's just check if it is in line. So let's just mention here. Now it's in line, and here I will mention truck class, and now here let's just say this is what our counting. So let's just say for this I will change the list, so car counting, and now here I will mention car counting, and then the next one truck counting is equal to empty class, and here in truck class I just want to mention truck counting. Done. Now let's just say here print car counting and print length of truck counting. Now let's just save the code. If I run the code, if counting.count, let me check here. Yes, because we changed the list name, so here also we want to mention our new list name for if condition. So if counting, so here car counting.count, this is the condition for don't count same ID again and again. So because we changed the list name, so we want to mention the list name same as over here also. This is basically our list name, and here also if counting, so here for truck we will mention here a truck. Done. And then if I save the code, if I run the code, now here it is, as you can see, we are counting a 1 truck. So 1, then we are counting a car class 1, so we have 1, so both class we have 1 1. Now as you can see 2 2 we are counting a car class, also we are counting truck class. Now the car class is increased because right now there is no new truck class. So means we are not counting the truck, we have only 2 truck which we already count, and now we count a 2 car, and this one is basically new one. So that's why the counter is increased for car class 3. Then we have new car again and 4. Done. So now let's just start our while loop. And now what we will do, we will put our counter on the frame. So we have our CVZone put text rect method. Just come here and mention the method like this way. CVZone put text method, and here I will mention the variable. So let's just first mention our variables. So this one is basically car counter na. So car counter is equal to length of our car counting, and then this one is basically truck counter. So truck counter is equal to length of truck counting list, as simple as. And then we will mention all these variable, copy it, and instead of track ID mention the variable and mention the name for counter, car counter shift colon, like this way. And this we will mention 50 60, the frame coordinate xy value 50 60, and then copy the method, copy it, paste all as it is, and only change the variable. This car counter will mention truck counter, and then here truck counter, and then 50 60 we will mention 15 160. We can change these coordinates. So now let's just start our code, and as you can see we have both counter. So the truck counter we will mention 100, and let's just increase the size of rectangle and text also. And as you can see, let's just go with 1 1. 1 1 is the good. 1 1 and 1 1, or let's just say 2 2, and here I will mention, let me start here a frame again. 160 is enough. 50 160. So here what I will do, here 4 4 4 4 5, 4 4 4 4 5. Let's just say 4 4 4 and 4 5, and this 2 2. This is basically a rectangle size, and this is the text size which we have inside the rectangle for CVZone put text rect method. Okay, now it's good, but I just want over here in this line. So 4 3 4 4 3 4. It's 4 2 4 or let's just say this one 30. So okay, so this is 4 to 4 30, and now what I will do, I will mention this as also 30. Now it's good. So now what we have done, we have our counter, and with the help of CVZone put text rect method we are putting the counter on the frame like this way using CVZone put text rect method. So this is the rectangle, the pink color rectangle. So if we want to increase the rectangle size, so you need to mention 2 for here, 2 is basically this rectangle size, and this 2 is basically the text size. So if I just mention here 1 for car counter 1, and if I save the code and if I run the code, now you will see the text size is become small. As you can see the thickness, as you can see the thickness. So now if I want to increase the thickness, I will mention 2. Save the code, run the code. As you can see the car counter, the text thickness is now increases. Now let's just say I want to make a small rectangle. So again I will mention this is the rectangle and this is the text thickness. So 1, so car counter rectangle, now it will become a small size. As you can see, small size. So this is the rectangle size and this is the text size. Now if I save the code, now we have all the way done. Now let's just start our while loop, and then now we have our counter for truck class also, for car class also. Watch, truck, oh there is a typo mistake. Let's just say where is a truck counter, truck K. Okay, save the code, run the code. That's it. Truck counter, we count 1 truck. Watch for this car, right now the 0 is there, but when we detect the object, we have detector, we have tracking ID, and we are counting object. 2, 3 for this car, 3, and this one is 4. So this is how, friends, you can use YOLOv10 and you can use YOLO by default tracker, and the most easiest way you can detect the object and you can track the object. I hope you will learn something from this video. We will meet our next video. Till then, thank you, take care, and bye bye.